What's up, everybody, and welcome to Fort Myers, Florida. Today, we're going to cross that bridge right there and explore the neighborhood that's just right there on the other side of the bridge. That's North Fort Myers. You have seen Fort Myers on the news. In fact, there's news crews right here from all over the country. But let's hop on over on the other side of the bridge and show you what the real streets of Fort Myers look like on the north side, the NoFo, North Fort Myers. Let's see what the real people of Fort Myers are going through. All right, guys, welcome to the real streets of Fort Myers. Now, for real, the situation being lived here is a different one. This is something else going on back here. And visible from now. The smell here is just really strong. All right, guys. So we're going to give you guys a walking tour of this neighborhood in North Fort Myers. Now, this area being on the other side of Fort Myers is kind of just like it's a gathering place for vagrant people. Unfortunately, a lot of homelessness. You guys have seen our videos here before the hurricane and know that this area is kind of an area you want to be careful in regardless. So now even more. So as you can see, there's signs pretty much warning people not to come in here. And that is because this area is known to have a lot of vagrancy. So there's going to be people desperate for sure that are pretty much going to do anything they can. So with that situation in mind, ¿cómo está, señor? You can see there's boat docks that just land on these people's houses here. I'm going to guess the storm surge here might have been above the windows. I mean, you can see that house there. You can see the garbage above the windows, so I'm going to guess the storm surge might have been to maybe just above that window. We'll see if we can get a better indication of how high the storm surge came as we walk around. But this is an area you really... This is an area that, because there's so much homelessness around us, is going to be kind of complicated. You can see here they had two Oldsmobiles. I'm sure they probably got wet. I'm a sucker for old Oldsmobiles. Beautiful cottage here, but again, being on the other side of Fort Myers, on this side of Fort Myers over here, it is quite definitely a danger zone now, because all the people that were vagrant before, were homeless before, now the situation is even worse. So that's why this area will see so many "if you loot, we'll shoot," signs, basically warning people that it's a complete danger zone. And it is really. It's this area now after the hurricane is definitely an area you got to be careful in. You can see that the storm surge quite literally just wiped through these houses. Seeking looters need target. So you can see here, it's how you doing, sir? Do you guys get like private contracts to clean this stuff up? Yeah. So how much do they pay per yard, right? Probably per yard.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Way above my head.
Cool. You guys from Florida or from out of state?
No,
Pennsylvania. Yeah, I've been up there. It's pretty. We travel all over for my YouTube channel. I went up there to saw Amish country and all that.
Oh yeah.
This is like the Kensington of Fort Myers right here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not quite Kensington, but. So you guys get paid just for the landscaping, or just for this stuff here too? It's just landscaping.
What's that?
You guys are just getting landscaping.
Today, yeah, probably just getting the brush.
Gotcha, bro.
Eventually, we'll get the rest of it.
Yeah. I remember with Irma, they paid by yardage. And back then I had a junk removal company, but it didn't pay off enough. Unless you got the big claw and like, what is that, like 400 yards?
Yeah, not quite.
Not quite. You gotta have quite a bit to make it pay off.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate you, man. So yeah, these, people ask you about the cleanup efforts. How does it happen? So they're from Pennsylvania. They're probably an out-of-state contractor. They picked up a contract, and so they're gonna get paid by yardage. So that's how that works. And as you can see, there's electrical wires and stuff, so they gotta be real careful. But that's how the landscaping debris is gonna get picked up. So they're contractors. They have a lot of state contracts, and they get paid like that. But being right on the river here, you can see that there are nice houses on this side, but it's just adjacent to so much that's bad. It's definitely not a rich area. You can see this truck was likely submerged completely underwater, garage doors blown out. And this is definitely a difficult situation for the locals. And that's how the cleanup efforts begin. You know, you have these trucks that are huge. I don't know how much yards they carry, but they're definitely big trucks. And they'll get the contracts from the county or the city or whatever, and they come out, and then, you know, they get paid by yardage. So they'll fill up these 2 trucks and they'll get paid for every load. So that's how that works. And I guess, unless, you know, any contractor could really pick it up, but if you don't have the claw, you're never gonna really make enough money, because it takes a lot of garbage for that pay rate to pay off. The smell's a little uncomfortable, and it's difficult. It really is. And keep in mind, like, right behind these houses, we're right across that bridge, so they can see right to downtown Fort Myers. So the houses that are directly kind of on this street here, they're looking, their backyard, you can see right through there. They're seeing Fort Myers. So it's definitely a beautiful view, but it's also a difficult time right now for the residents. Hard to tell where the water line was here, but just by looking around, it looks like maybe 8 feet. Hard to tell just by looking. Sometimes there's a building where the water will kind of settle, and you can kind of pick up an idea of how high the water mark came up. But as you can see, it's kind of a complete disaster zone back here. And can you imagine the street before this event? These houses here are looking towards downtown Fort Myers. And a lot of people ask me on the videos so many times, why do people throw everything away? Can't they save some of that stuff? Salt water is very corrosive, and I've kind of repeated this throughout several videos, but it just seems to always pop up on every video, is why are they just throwing everything away? So you can see downtown Fort Myers right through there. I mean, it's just wild that we're here looking at this, and downtown Fort Myers is just right there. The Caloosahatchee River, you know, difficult. It's like a suitcase with some belongings. Perhaps they were just antiques they had inside their attic or something. It definitely doesn't look like it was bad stuff before the hurricane, but it's unfortunate to see it here like this. Take a closer look. You can see there's electrical wires on the ground, perhaps electrical or cable. Difficult scenario here. Just hard to just soak this in. And keep in mind, you know, this is the street that's on the water, and there's mobile homes on it. So as you move further into North Fort Myers, it's not really a rich area. You know, insurance companies will not insure mobile homes. So when you look at a mobile home, it's not exactly something that's insurable. So the situation for people here is definitely going to be a more complicated one. It smells unpleasant. It feels sad. It's definitely not an enjoyable vibe here right now. Sometimes on these campers, you can kind of make out, if where the garbage sticks, how high the water came, but sometimes I can give you an indication of how high the water came up. Perhaps here you might be able to note about 4 feet of water on the water line of this house. You can see that the water blew out the windows as well. So judging by the camper on the other side and this house here, I'm going to assume that the water line came to about 4 feet. You can also denote right there about 4 feet. So yeah, that's enough water to just about destroy everything in your home. And in fact, looking in this direction here, you can also clearly denote about 4 feet of water. Just Alright guys, so this is an appliance store, and as you can see, water storm surge came up through here, and one could imagine that appliances are going to become fairly difficult to get a hold of now. This home here would have definitely been saved due to the elevation of it. You can note here that the roots of this tree that fell are actually above the roof of the house that was adjacent to it. The situation here in this little area of North Fort Myers is definitely serious with storm surge and wind destruction. You can see here that the root systems are pretty much engulfing just a structure that it fell over here. Very likely an old, yeah, it's an older, very much older home. You see here several palm trees down. Across the street is what was one of my favorite restaurants, the Athenian. They have great selection, a large menu. I really hope they can open back up because I love the restaurant. There's actually an entire barge, like an actual boat, you know, like a barge, right over there. So this area here, again, had storm surge, so we're looking at about 3 feet of water covering everything you see here during the storm surge. And, you know, like a horrible thing about the storm surge is stuff like this, chemicals, paint, all that stuff got mixed in with that water, and that contaminates the environment. So just imagine all the propane tanks, all the chemicals, all the paints, all of that contamination would now be in the water and thus back into the estuaries. Look at these businesses, guys. This is somebody's business. This is how these people made a living. That's their businesses, their shops, their storefronts, everything. Wow. Okay. Like the site there with the scrap metal pile. But that's the real thing about the struggle out here is, perhaps, as crazy as that seems, perhaps that's the only way those people are going to get $40 to eat today. Maybe their home is destroyed. Maybe their business is destroyed. And their workplace might be closed and they're not making any money. And all they got to do is load up a chunk of scrap metal on top of their car, take it to the scrap yard, and that's the only way they're going to eat today. You know what I mean? So there are definitely some real situations unfolding. You know, I've had a lot of criticism from the people like in Naples, which are my subscriber base really, that, you know, that they feel like I'm not sympathetic to their loss. But here's the difference. During this hurricane, I was in, you know, I stayed for the hurricane, but the next day I got in my car and I stayed in a hotel in Fort Lauderdale on the beach because I had money. If I didn't have money, I'd have been stuck out here in this misery. So, unfortunately, just be glad that you were in a hotel somewhere else and that you weren't stuck here scavenging scrap metal to go eat that day. So, I can't really co-sign the idea that money doesn't make your life better. Because for Hurricane Charlie, I was stuck 14 days without power, you know? But Irma, I had to stay for Irma because I couldn't afford it. But now, for this hurricane, I was in West Palm Beach, I was in Fort Lauderdale, I was in Miami. The poor working class people don't have the ability to do that. No, I didn't lose my home. I didn't lose my furniture. But if I had, I would just go and buy another one. Poor people can't do that. When poor people lose their home, that's the only one they can afford. The furniture they had, it might have taken them years to get it. So, no, I cannot co-sign the idea that I have to feel bad for rich people losing their stuff as much as I feel for these people. These people here, I feel for these people even more, you know? But again, I'm not criticizing the ability to get out, because I did it. I got out. I was in Fort Lauderdale by the beach, you know? So, but I've also, during Hurricane Charlie, I had no food, no water, no money. You know what I mean? And we were without power for, 2 weeks. So I've been on both sides of that, and I can tell you, it may be a uncomfortable situation for the wealthy, but it's a real uncomfortable situation for the people out here. So I don't wish bad upon anybody, and I don't hate being rich people. Actually, I'm glad that today I was able to get out of Southwest Florida when our power was shut off. But you kind of feel more sympathetic for the people that lost everything and don't have the ability to get it back, as you do for somebody losing a second home. Does it suck to lose your second home? Absolutely. Hey, I wish I had a second home. You know what I mean? It's a loss for everybody. But you have to understand that with poverty comes a level of misery that you're not going to encounter when you have money. That's why I encourage people to work hard so they don't end up in poverty and have to find out about these situations. And it's a loss all the way around, because let's say you have a big house on the beach, you can insure that. But they don't insure mobile homes. They don't insure older houses like they do new houses. So under all categories, wealthy people have the ability to bounce back a whole lot better than somebody who owns a mobile home, because you can't insure that, you know? You can see the watermark on this house right here to the windows. You know what's crazy is that Kate and I almost bought this house. The floorboards were already kind of soft and bad before the hurricane, so you can imagine that house. It's not looking good. All right, guys, so these are some historic cottages here. We've actually done several videos here, and these are just like little old cottages. So I'm really curious to see how they did, since we've done videos here in the past just showing these tiny little cabbages here in North Fort Myers. Keep in mind that this area here had homelessness and poverty and misery before this event, so it's like a multiplying factor. We almost bought this house right here too. They had just fixed it right before the hurricane, and you're talking about an area that before the hurricane had a difficult situation. Imagine now. This is River Road. We've actually done videos here before the hurricane, several. Oh no, not the Pontiac. It's hard. I mean, this is a poor area. You got people that are disabled, elderly and disabled on fixed incomes. If you start to think about it, you'll go crazy. So if my audience, you know, the ones who are kind of feeling a little bit uncomfortable by these comments, just be thankful, man. That's all it's about. Just be thankful. Be thankful that you have your comforts and you have the things you need, and that you're able to provide for yourself and the people you love. Because there's people out here, man, that are gonna have a much harder time at it. So just the point is, just be thankful, man. Appreciate what you have every day. Appreciate it, man. Nice little tiki hut. It's not on a trailer, so I'm gonna assume it floated over here. And here is the Cocohatchee River itself. You can see that the road kind of washed off here. And there it is. There's the Cocohatchee River itself. There's a book over here. There's a book. Big book. Creepy. As you can see, the people in this little neighborhood are kind of paranoid. And they have like sensors on the road where if you drive by, it'll beep at you and stuff, and just little signs and little messages to just let you know that you're being watched, because this area here again just has a lot of vagrancy, and the people that live in these communities, you know, they have to deal with how this dude's got like, oh my gosh, an old bus and it says San Antonio on it. That is so cool. I don't think they understand that you can't really... Okay. Just smells so bad out here, guys. It's like I don't know if it's the salt water mix of people's clothing mixed with just everything, but it's bad. It's really bad. Just kind of up the multiplying factor on misery out here. What have we learned today, children? Well, that while there's 200 reporters showing what's going on over there in downtown Fort Myers, you know, there's residential areas where people are living misery, and misery is compounding on top of misery and hardship. people are going through some real life situations out here.